You're listening to Errol Parker and Clancy Overall, editors of the Batuta Advocate, on Desert Rock FM.
Well, welcome back to Desert Rock FM here in the Diamantina Shire, downtown Batuta in Koala Mattress Studios. You're joining Errol Parker and Clancy Overall as always, and today we've got a special guest. It was actually quite nice of him to make the trip up here. He's got a lot on. He hasn't stopped recording albums for about 10 years. He is on the go right now. He's about to launch something for us. This is Dan Sultan.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure. It's hot.
Now, Dan, you are a worldly musician in that you've spent a lot of time working and living right around the country. You did your time up in Cairns as a young boy.
I've lived in Cairns for a few years.
Brand new day, obviously, set out of Broome.
Yeah, spent a lot of time in the Kimberleys.
Yeah.
Lived in Darwin.
Yeah.
And mostly Melbourne.
Fitzroy's favourite son.
Oh, I don't know about that.
We'll say that.
Depends who you talk to, I think. Depends what period as well.
Yeah. I don't know.
And now I'm actually in Sydney these days.
Yeah, right.
Sylvania Waters way.
Close to Sylvania Waters, yeah.
Do you own a jet ski yet, Dan?
No, but I actually went in and bought a lawnmower the other day from Sylvania Mowers.
Ooh.
Which was, it's, if anyone who knows it, it's floor to ceiling, stacked with whippersnippers and mowers. There's mowers about 5 deep out the front.
Right.
And nothing's for sale. He wants to hang on to everything. There's a few things in there. I walked in and I said, I'm looking for a mower. And he said, look, I've got some new stuff here, but you're better off waiting a couple of weeks and see if, there'll be a second-hand thing coming in. And the new stuff isn't that good as far as, quality, but there'll be a good quality second-hand one coming in. And I go, oh, okay. And then I sort of looked at one. I go, so what's this one here? And he said, that's brand new, but it's about a year old. So I can do that for, I think it was about $350, which is still $350, but it's not $800. And I was like, oh, okay. So is that just not a good quality one or something? He goes, no, that's great. And I was like, well, can I have it then? He wasn't too keen on selling stuff either.
Bit like a guitar salesman.
But he was great. He was, loved his mowers. He had to replace the fuel line, and my darling fiance reckons that he just wanted to work on it a bit before he got rid of it. But yeah, Sylvania Mowers, I'll give a bit of a plug there. It was good. Don't expect to buy anything, but I think if you got a mower that needs servicing, he's good for that. You might not get it back though.
There's a bit like that in the guitar stores, I guess. There's a lot of people having to sell things they don't want to sell.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a guitar shop down in Melbourne. Friends of mine run. There's a couple pretty close to each other. Music swap shop and Found Sound, and I've had to convince my mate Louis at Found Sound to sell me a couple of things. It's like, it's on the wall, mate. And if you sell it to me, then you know where it is, And if I sell it, I'll sell it to you, and And there's this other one, Swap Shop. I've actually got a couple of guitars in there. I've been going in there since I was a kid, and I don't know if those guitars are going to sell anytime soon. It's hard to find them. It reminded me of the mower shop, actually. The mower shop reminded me of the swap shop. There's a lot of stuff in there. They're reluctant to sell some of the stuff.
You'd think they'd just be better off just having like a hire store, like having like a Kennard's hire, but for guitars and
or a museum, more to the point.
Yeah, where it's on loan.
A library.
Yeah, just not even
the guitar library.
You can't take it. You can come in and look at it, and we, donations accepted.
What are you rocking now? What kind of acts are you playing with now?
Right now, I've actually I've got one with me at the moment. Like as you mentioned, I'm in the middle of a bit of stuff, so I'm cruising around with one at the moment, which is an old 1969 Fender Telecaster, which is pretty special.
Just like what the boss used to use.
The boss doesn't mind a tally. Yeah. I don't think there's anyone who doesn't mind a tally. I mean, they're pretty much just to nerd out a bit about it all. They're straight up. If you can't handle it on a tally, then, there's just no way to hide on a Telecaster. It's just wood with some pickups and just straight up. And they're just, they're just pretty pure as far as an electric guitar goes. And 69 is, to really nerd out, is sort of post-CBS buyout of Fender. And pre-CBS is more expensive and more collectible and considered a lot better. And look, in a lot of ways they are, but the early CBS stuff, sort of mid to late 60s, is beautiful. I can't afford anything from before that, but I've got a couple of nice things from just after that. And this telecast is, it's a good one. It's nice.
Now, back-to-back albums, 2017, 2018, and now you've got a bit going on this year.
Back to back to back.
Yeah.
To back.
To back.
Yeah.
Doubling up this year.
Doubling up this year, yeah. I got an album coming out. We actually just dropped the first single the other day. It's a cover song of Michael Kiwanuka's Love and Hate, which is a beautiful song to listen to and to sing. At least it was before I got my hands on it. Yeah, look, there's Gillian Welsh, Miss Ohio, so there's a couple of covers on there, but it's just songs from my past catalogue. So it's a new album, but it's old songs, so it's the Lazy Man's new album. But we spoke to Paul Kelly. Never heard of him.
Late last year. Yeah, you might have.
Is the AFL player.
Oh, yeah, of course.
No, it's Dan Kelly's uncle.
The journalist.
Does Dan Kelly have an uncle?
Yeah. Well, he's a musician of sorts, and he had done a similar thing with but those, and Slim Dusty the same. It's when you do that much songwriting, there's always a few ones that were there, right? There was always a few that you kind of wish you could have put them on somewhere, and then you get them again. Yeah,
well, these are songs that I'd released before, but they're just done really stripped back. I played everything on the album. Now that sounds a bit more impressive than it is because there's not really much going on the album. But it's acoustic guitar with some nice sparkly electric there, and some percussion and here and there, just little things here and there, and also piano. Yeah, I'm feeling really good these days, and doing really well and really healthy, and I'm in some rare form. Everything we did, most things were done in one take, but no more than 2 or 3 takes.
Really?
Yeah. So, look, that comes from years of knowing the songs, and it's just instinct. But also, I don't want to make it sound like we were being lazy with it, because if we didn't get a take that we liked, then we'd keep trying. It's just that we got those takes really early, and most of the time we got it in the first one.
Well, you're pretty fresh right now. You're looking pretty good.
I'm pretty fresh at the moment. It's good, feeling good. Taking care of myself since about early June.
Yep.
For one reason or another.
Yeah.
And doing really well. Happy, healthy, and productive. This album that we were just talking about, it's called Avery Takes. It was done at the Avery Studios in Melbourne.
Okay.
In Abbotsford. And I've also got another album, a kids album that I've made.
Right.
As well. So,
is this a Dan Sultan exclusive that we're getting here on the Batuta Radio Show?
Well, it is at the moment, yeah. Yeah, so it's a story about an Arctic tern, which is a kind of migratory bird from the North Pole, that they migrate to the South Pole every year. And this bird was born with a crooked wing, so she gets a bit lost, and she meets a lot of friends along the way. And
right.
They've all got their little things about them that are different to each other, and it's about acceptance and just being good to each other and having a sing song. Things were getting pretty full on last year and the year before, and this is why I had to take a break last year, because I was doing my head in a bit about stuff, whether made the album Killer, which charted really well and got really great reviews, but I didn't really get on many festival bills, and there was a bit of a lack as far as radio play was concerned, which was pretty heartbreaking. And look, that is what it is, and you either keep moving and just keep creating, or you do what I did for a while there, which was I became pretty fucking resentful, and I made myself pretty sick, and I needed to take a break from partying and all that stuff for quite some time leading up to that, but it all kind of came to a head with all that stuff. It was the best album that I've ever made, and it was. I had some expectations on it that didn't get met, and it was a bit heartbreaking. There's nothing like. getting out of that rut of taking yourself a bit too seriously and all that stuff, like writing a kids album, So now I've written a song. There's a song on there, the windy gorilla, and she farts a lot, And there's also Tembo the giraffe, and this is a true story. She grew up in an elephant orphanage and identifies as an elephant,
Right. Okay.
And I was there at this
bit of
orphanage.
identity politics going on in this.
Well,
album.
maybe not. However people want to read into it,
Yeah.
But I was there in Nairobi in Kenya at this national park in this elephant orphanage with this baby giraffe who would go out with the elephants all day, big herd, and then they'd come back into the orphanage at the end of the day, and she'd see giraffes out there and be curious and stuff, but always come back with the elephants. And I just thought that's what kind of sparked this whole thing. I thought, well, that would be a great book, kids book, you know. And I spoke to my friend who was on the trip with me, who's a writer and filmmaker, and I asked him if he wanted to write some stories and ideas for songs, and it all just stemmed from there. You know,
is this your first time delving into the lucrative market of Australian kids? Like, you've been on Play School before.
I've dipped my toe. I've done Play School a couple of times, and I was on the Wiggles last album.
Right.
But I'm coming for them. Basically,
good.
I'm coming for you.
Yeah, coming for your Wiggles. Oh, and
they gave me my start, and I've just turned on them. Yeah.
That's also very understandable. The stuff you're saying earlier about Killer, because there were some tracks on that album, Kingdom particularly. And what was the song you teamed up with LePepe? Drover,
yeah. That was a redo. So we did Killer Under a Blood Moon the following year, which was an EP where we had Camp Cope. We had AB Original and Meg Mac redoing 4 tracks from Killer, which was awesome, and that was great, and that all came around really well and organically as well. Obviously, we had the tracks already there, and we put 2 bonus tracks on it as well that we'd recorded while we were making Killer that didn't make the album, but they just didn't fit really with the album Killer itself, but great tracks on their own. So it was good to be able to release those. Yeah, and that all came around really organically, and we got a couple of noms for that at the Arias, and it charted really well as well.
Well, it sounds like you're back and you're wholesome and you're
I don't know about wholesome.
Wholesome.
I'm sober.
So you're telling us this new kids album might be PG?
Yeah, pushing it to PG. No, it's just fighting gorillas and frill-neck lizards that are a bit neurotic and can't control their necks, the frill. So they're knocking shit over all the time. Well, it's a good way to stop taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah,
it's great, and it's just been so good for my spirit,
It sounds like the type of album that the New South Wales government would rather everyone in the country try and listen to, how they've gone to their huge efforts of closing down the live music scene in their state and closing down music festivals. Have you found that in your line of work, especially when you come to New South Wales, things have gotten a bit grim?
Yes and no. I mean, you say it sounds like the kind of album that they'd like, but the way they go after young people, I mean, they just might go even younger now. It's the same mentality as, people up in arms about council wanting to put in a skate park, or someone proposes putting in a skate park in a country town. It's got nothing to do with safety or crime or anything like that. It's just got everything to do with, it's not a war on drugs or music or anything. It's a war on young people. That's what it is. I mean, they talk about low-risk festivals and high-risk festivals. I mean, what constitutes a low or high-risk festival? I mean, basically, if it's about safety, then you'd put in pill testing because these kids are going to be taking those pills anyway.
Yeah.
And if you're talking, they're throwing around buzzwords like money grab, accusing festivals of trying to do stuff like that. Well, what do you, I think shutting down the Cross and, sending all the punters who are still punching on and there's still massive alcohol and drug-fueled violence. It's just moved to the casino where the government has vested interest. What would you call that as far as money grab? And another thing. No. And it's just, it's just, for me, it's just, it's just obvious what's happening. It's just the classic war on young people. I mean, these people, went to university for free. They pay fuck all for a house. They walk straight into a job that they had for life, and then just living off their superannuation. And now it's harder than ever for a young person to go to university to be able to afford it. It's harder than ever to get into the property market. And now they want to take away music festivals. You know what I mean? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, hell yeah. Preach.
Well, I saw...
easily the most spoiled generation that we got. And listen, I know a lot of baby boomers. My parents are baby boomers, and there's some really good people, of course. And it's not just... You can't just paint a whole generation like that. But I just think it's... I just think if you just look at the big picture... You know what I mean? Just let them dance. I mean, they're not going to be able to go into the property market unless they get some massive inheritance. They're not going to be able to pay off their fucking HEX debt unless they get some massive inheritance. The least you can let them do is just go and have a dance and let them be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them dance to Avery Takes.
Well, dance to Avery Takes, or Gnarly and Friends, Yeah. That's the kids' album.
I read in the news a couple of weeks ago that they classed the Day on the Green in the Hunter Valley as being a low-risk festival, but they still had...
I was there, mate.
They still had undercover cops there with handguns. They still had drug detection dogs, and some bloke got dragged out and arrested because he blew his nose at a copper, and the gollies come out of his nose... and landed on this cop, and this cop's given this bloke a hiding, and then this bloke gets charged with assaulting a police officer.
Yeah, right. Well, look, don't be blowing gobbies on people. You know what I mean? But yeah, look, and you're exactly right. I mean, I was at the rally recently up in Sydney, and I mentioned that I was at a so-called low-risk event the weekend before that, and it was the Hunter Valley. I performed at that, and I didn't see it, but someone working on the event and someone working for the bands that played went for a wander and just saw a big punch on between some men who had been drinking all day in the sunshine. You know what I mean? And these people were of a certain age demographic, so-called low-risk age demographic. You know what I mean?
Boomers.
Yeah, angry boomers. And you just think...
You got them all rolled up, Dan, on stage.
Angry sunburnt boomers.
It wasn't while I was playing. It was about half an hour afterwards that they got steered. Yeah. So, I mean, what is a high risk and what is a low risk? I mean, it's pretty obvious to me what it is. It's an attack on young people, and it's an attack on, look, kids are going to do what they're going to do, and they don't care what you or I say or what the government says, and what we should be doing as a responsible society is making that as safe as possible, I mean, I've been there, and I've been a risk at a so-called low-risk festival many times. You know,
on stage.
I've dodged a lot of bullets. Yeah, on stage more recently. Fucking idiot. Yeah, but I've dodged a lot of bullets in my time, and I feel very fortunate. But there are some kids that they overdo it. People overdo it, and they go down. And we just got to be there as a society to put things in place to make sure that. There's risky behaviour, but just make it as safe as possible.
What do you think Woodstock would have been listed as? High risk?
I think pretty high risk. I mean, they talk.
A couple of kids got born at Woodstock.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and also, I mean, I don't want to try to quote verbatim here because I can't actually remember it totally, but, people talking about this only being a recent thing with risky music festivals and stuff like that with kids. I mean, music festivals over the years, people died at Woodstock, people died at
Big Day Out.
Yeah, Big Day Out. And,
what was that one Mick Jagger put on where someone got shot?
Yeah. Let's get the Hells Angels to do
the security. Hells Angels one at a racetrack.
It was, I actually know the guy who, if you watch that video, it's a British guy saying, "Get in the chopper." At the end, like, come on. Yeah, right. I know that guy. He's a nice guy. He was there. Yeah, that was heavy. So things have been heavy for a long time. And look, people are always going to say, "Oh, youth of today" and all of that bullshit. You know what I mean? It's just bullshit.
So why doesn't this happen in Victoria? I mean...
Well, because when they shut down the Tote, which is an institution... the following day there was over 3,000 people out the front who blocked off the intersection of Johnston and Wellington Street and had a party out there because they just weren't going to stand for it. And then within a month, Quincy and Helen from Bakehouse Studios had organised this rally where we got about 50,000 people, up Burke Street at the steps of Parliament House.
What, just because the Tote, which was for our...
Well, the Tote was a symbol,
Oh, right.
The Tote was a symbol of where things were going, these venues. I mean, if you were to put on live music, if you were a restaurant that had someone playing guitar in the corner, then you legally had to employ security guards. There was all this legislation, knee-jerk reaction legislation coming out, So all of these places had to shut down, which is, something that happened to Sydney a long time ago. And again, I don't know heaps about it, the particulars, so I don't want to speak out of school, but so spoilt, in Sydney for such beautiful, cultural happenings.
Yeah.
And, it's just got shut down a long time ago.
Do you think New South Welshmen and women are a bit more apathetic? I mean, geez, 50,000 people on 24-hour turnaround. That's a lot of people to march.
Well, it was about a week later, the 50,000, but there was about just over 3,000 24 hours after the tote was shut down because they couldn't afford to employ all the security. They always had security guards at the gigs, and they always had people there. And it was just a normal pub and a normal venue, that would have a dust-up every now and then, but it wasn't like, you knew that it was pretty mellow.
It wasn't.
I'll tell you what,
beef and
though.
bourbon.
No.
I think you'd be lucky to get 3,000 to a midweek NRL game down there in Sydney.
Well, I got a theory, right? And I think it all ties in. And this is a Melbourne person recently moved to Sydney again. I don't want to speak.
We like to spark this up.
I don't want to speak out too much.
Two.
But basically, I think it's the weather.
Yeah.
Because Sydney has such beautiful weather. So if it rains, doesn't matter. We'll just chill out and just go do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Whereas Melbourne, if you stayed in every time it rained, you'd never do anything. So Melbourne you put your jacket on, you take your umbrella, you put your gloves on.
Put your Doc Martens on.
Put your Docs on. Black, got any blacker, and you go out whether it's raining or not.
Yeah,
because
right.
if you didn't, you'd never do anything.
Yeah.
And the city then gets set up for that over the decades and decades of it, and people then go to it. I mean, a perfect example of Melbourne I can say here is I went to the football at the MCG and AFL football, and I saw someone there. I just recognised them because I'd seen them at the football before, and it was just someone's face that you might see over the years. It's like, oh, I've seen that guy around, And then a week later, my father and I went to Hamer Hall, big, beautiful concert hall on the Yarra, and saw Herbie Hancock. And the same guy was sitting about 3 rows in front of me. And that's just that's just indicative of Melbourne, and people are just keen and they just go out and they go to the football or they go to, and it was, again, the middle of the year, freezing cold, and there's, 60,000 people at the MCG. It's still only 2/3 full. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sydney's too pretty.
60,000.
I think it is the weather. I mean, just so spoilt for such beautiful weather in such a beautiful city that if it's raining today or tomorrow, that doesn't matter because in a couple of days it's going to be beautiful and we can go and do stuff.
Sydney
I will
has
say
been
the rally in Sydney.
Yeah.
It was raining that day, and there was a shitload of people that turned up, and I was a bit concerned about that, just knowing what it's been like at shows over the years and stuff like that, if it's raining or if it's not, and whether people are going to head out or not. And, Sydney showed up, and they showed up, and I thought, to Sydney's credit, it was great.
Sydney has been described as the pretty teenager that never had to try. That's things come too easy to Sydney. The Olympics came quite easily to Sydney. A lot of things come quite easily to this city down south that has the harbour and has the beaches. Whereas Brisbane, I guess, Brisbane's got a busier nightlife as well. If you look at Fortitude Valley.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I tell you what, I stopped drinking, in June last year, and there are moments where, you feel like having a drink and, you don't, and that passes and stuff. And then there are moments when, you really get consolidated and solidified in your decision. And I played a show in Brisbane in December on a Saturday night.
You were happy not drinking.
And then I went out with some friends. I've got good friends who live in Brisbane, lifelong friends. And we're all going out for dinner, as we do every time. And anyone who's stopped drinking and wants to stay off the drink for a while, walk through Fortitude Valley at about 11 o'clock at night on a Friday or a Saturday night, and you'll feel pretty good about your decision. And I'm really trying not to be this sanctimonious, self-righteous, I don't drink anymore guy, but I'll tell you, and I'll be honest with you now, I walked down that street and I was like, oh, I'm just so much better than all of you. And of course I'm not. I'm just sober. And it was like when I was drinking, I was so much worse than all of them, obviously.
You would have been deep in Wickham Street.
In the moment, But, it was there are things that come up and, help you out like that. So yeah, that was good. Anyone who wants to give themselves a bit of a break, who live in Brisbane and they've done so, they might have done a couple of weeks or maybe a month, and they're starting to get a bit itchy. They want to do a bit more.
Yeah. Go visit the Macca's.
Just go and get yourself a kebab at 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday, and
keep your wits about you.
Yeah, that's right.
Now tell us, moving into a children's album, have you seen how people describe you as a musician change over the years? Like, there was a time when Dan Sultan was a country music singer in the eyes of a lot of people, and then folk, and then, dare I say, protest.
Yeah. Yeah, well, being a young, successful Aboriginal man is a fucking political statement in itself, unfortunately. And we don't have to get right into that. But look, I don't mind. Look, people, I've never belonged to a clique or a certain genre or a certain scene. I've been on festivals with bands like Violent Soho, and then I've performed and recorded with some friends of mine who do hip hop, and I've also done country music and rock and roll, and now kids album. I mean, basically, I don't belong to any particular genre or anything like that, which isn't something that I've done deliberately, but it's just the way it's turned out, and I don't mind it. I think, I like to listen to lots of different types of music, and I like to make music that I like to listen to. Yeah. So, as complicated as it might seem initially, the idea of someone not belonging to a genre, and while it's a bit chaotic, it's actually quite simple. Yeah. I just like to make music that I like to listen to, and that's all different types of music.
What'd you come up on? Bit of Pennywise? Oh,
yeah, absolutely. Bro him. Fuck yeah. Oh, yeah, lots of Pennywise, No Effects. Yeah. This name that they were a bit more daggy, but they were MXPX. Yeah. There they are. Yeah. But all of that, and, we skated and, smoked bongs and all that
Thrasher.
shit. Yeah. It was...
Yeah.
It was... But, Toe to Toe, Frenzal Rom.
Yeah.
We were there. I was there, man. I actually played in a band with a mate of mine who's in Sydney, Wade Kieran, who's played in a lot of different bands. He plays with Steve Smythe over the years, and he's now in Polish Club. He's a producer, and maybe a few of the listeners out there might know Wade. And when we were living in Cairns, we played in a band together called Tosser.
Yeah, right.
Of course. And we just skated around and...
Bit of tropical North grunge.
We did own Far North Queensland for about 5 minutes. I like to say we're in the Barfly, which is the street press.
Yeah, right.
As 15-year-olds, we actually played at this McDonald's car park in Innisfail. Yeah, classic. A little festival they put on there, day festival, and we were on second last, and of course swearing and all that bullshit.
Hell yeah.
And they told us to stop.
Bobcat was there,
and we didn't, of course.
Bobcat,
yeah.
Start with the language.
Cat in the Hat.
Jesus Christ!
How's the language?
Get this off the stage now.
Get this off the stage now. And he's what? Yeah, yeah. So we didn't swear. So anyway, they cut the power. Macca's car park, classic, and we were packing up our stuff, and it was all very punk rock. And I heard the foldback start to come on again. Yeah. So you can hear the mics are live again.
Yeah.
And I got up, and this was at the start of a particular ad campaign by one of their competitors. And I got up and I said, the burgers are better at Hungry Jack's.
Oh.
So that was probably that was as punk rock as I've ever got. I think that was pretty good, and we still have a good laugh about that one. There are people that I've met who I'm good friends with now, who know Wade, and they're like, "Hey, Dad, I heard from Wade. Tell me
you stuck it to the man.
Tell me the burgers are better story." Wade said it was a classic. Yeah, so it was pretty rock and roll. in the Innisfail McDonald's car park in 1997, 1998.
Now, was there any music in the family prior to you becoming a musical savant?
That's very kind of you. I don't know if I agree, but yeah, bit of music in the family over the generations. My dad's grandfather, Ripley, it's a great old name.
Yeah, right.
He used to play for the silent movies.
Yeah, right.
All right.
And he had a really great ear. You know,
Yeah.
he could hear something and then play it pretty much straight away. You know, he could figure it out in his head, and that's something that I, you know, feel really fortunate about. That I've, you know, that's an ability that I've always had, and Dad didn't get that ability, so I think it skipped a couple of generations.
Yeah.
But Dad's mother and his aunties, so his daughters, Ripley's daughters. You know, they played music, but they read music. Now I'm dyslexic, so I sort of could read music while I was doing it regularly in high school or learning about it. But as far as just sight read and play as I go, that's something that I've never been able to do. But I've always just played by ear, and Ripley had the ear. But on the other side, on my mum's side, you know, my brother's got a great ear as well. Yeah, he sort of, you know, he played sax for a while when he was younger, and, you know, he can do it. He doesn't do it as much as he'd like to. I don't know, you'd have to ask him, but he's definitely got the ability. Yeah, we get that from Mum.
Mm-hmm.
Mum's got a great ear as well, and she, you know, great singer.
Yeah.
She actually she could have been a really amazing opera singer, but she had, you know, issues with her upbringing and confidence and stuff like that. So yeah, she's had a pretty hard time, Mum, in a lot of ways. So
Where's your where's your family from on that side?
on Mum's side, they're from Central Australia,
Yep.
but they all went to Adelaide when they were kids.
Yeah.
Got taken to Adelaide, I should say. They didn't go. It's not like they went to Adelaide. They got taken to Adelaide. So I've got a lot of family there, and Elizabeth and
what's the mob?
Aranda and Gorinji, which is Wave Hill is Gorinji, and Eastern Aranda, which is Alice Springs, east of Alice Springs. Beautiful.
A lot
country.
closer to Batuta than Melbourne too.
It is, yeah. I can feel it. I might just head towards the sunset and keep going.
Follow Birdsville Development Road.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful part of the world. You know, I spent the first few years of my life living in Alice Springs, which, you know, obviously I can't remember a lot of it, but there's a lot of it that I can. My memory goes back a long way. And spending time out in Yuendamu, my father worked for the Aboriginal Legal Service, and I spent a lot of time out there with him. And I've been back since. I was only there last year. You know, I've done a lot of work out in community and remote places. And, you know, I'm very fortunate that I've been able to do that, see a lot of beautiful things in this country. I don't know if I want to get... Oh, yeah, fuck it, I will. Someone got stuck into me online, as is the thing, you know, at the moment. It's just so fucking crazy. All
That's
this
just
shit.
the thing of 2019.
fucking Instagram.
It's never
Everyone
at the pub
just
anymore, is it?
Everyone just fucking shut up and fucking just chill out. Anyway, that's my rant about that. But someone got stuck into me saying, oh, you know, too famous to come out to Aboriginal communities, too famous to do this, too rah. And it's just like, you fucking got no idea who I am and the things that I've done and the family that I come from. You know, I've had family and myself included, you know, my brother, you know, we've worked in everything from legal, land council, housing, health, education, with the Go Foundation that provides scholarships for kids from primary all the way up to university. You know, I've run workshops out there, you know, put on shows out there. I've been out, you know, I've seen it, and I've had people close to me who have experienced things, and myself personally, you know, some of the really horrible things that can go out in these remote places. If that person's listening, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Tell them. Hopefully they are. Trolls, obviously a big part of being a high-profile musician nowadays. I'm sure it is.
I actually commented on one thing you put up about baby boomers saying they never worked for anything, and I deleted it because I basically said these guys didn't have to pay for uni, blah, blah, this spiel I just did before, and some guy replied to me, goes, aren't musicians supposed to be happy? And he said something like, you sound like a whiny little schoolgirl or something. And I just thought, fair enough. And I just deleted the comment. I thought, you know what, he's probably right. I know that I'm right, but at the same time, it's just like, he's right. He's actually, I could have got stuck into him about you know, females automatically have a negative connotation to you, and I could have. There's a lot of places I could have gone. But you know, there's a great meme out at the moment of two corgis. One's up on the couch and one's down on the bottom, and they're just kind of barking at each other, you know, being possessive over their toys. And there's overdubs of them saying, "What did you say about immigration?" You know, and stuff like that. It's definitely worth a look, and it pretty much sums it all up. Look, at the end of the day, it's only fucking Instagram. You know what I mean? Jesus, you know, just show me your fucking dog and shut up.
And it'll probably be on uncool in 2 or 3 years' time, and no one will use it.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Because I'm really tired. I got to have a break, man. Not from this conversation, but from I'll just go too hard. I mean, I've got an addictive personality. I went to fucking rehab this year, for fuck's sake.
Well, we haven't even seen those modules implemented in rehab yet. There'll be social media.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
be.
Just saying,
There should be. I'll tell you what.
I'll tell you what, the absolute worst thing for our newspaper has been heading on to social media. I mean, now that we've just been exposed to this disgusting underbelly, it's just I miss when the most hate that we'd get would be an angry letter to the editor.
Yeah.
And now
Anthrax.
and now you've got people
white powder in it.
bloody
Yeah.
calling you this, calling you that, and you've never met them.
No. And, it's...
And they've got no name and they've got no face.
that's right.
They're just a Hilux, or no, what is it?
They're just an angry
They're an
motorbike.
HSV.
or an angry bloody HSV Marloo that's got an automatic gearbox, these fucking people.
Or an angry
Damn.
silhouette standing up on a branch over a river about to jump in or something like that, or on a rope swing. It's an
Are
angry-
you still driving a Commodore? You were in a Donegal for a while.
I was years ago, yeah. I haven't had a Commodore for years. I had a VN station wagon, green.
Oh, yeah.
You know the old VNs,
Yeah, nice and
that old
boxy.
Holden colour. It was a light green.
Nice and
Did it have
boxy.
roof racks on it?
It had roof racks,
Oh,
of
yeah.
course. Yeah, put the mini mail up there. I was always a big fella. I was got up to about 135 kilos by the time I was about 19.
Right.
So driving around with the P plates and the mini mail. I could handle a mini mail, but nothing.
It can handle you.
It could handle me more to the point. Yeah.
So by the time you were in Brand New Day, was that did you go on a boot camp or something? If you're
No.
130 kigs at 19,
Yeah.
you were a slender little thing.
I was.
Opposite Mowboy.
I was. And every time I go out to community, the kids like to remind me of that as well. Because they think, Brand New Day, it was yesterday. It's like, well, actually, it was 10 years ago, and there are certain reasons why I didn't eat that much at the time. You got to try to keep a sense of humour
I
about
was
it.
a rock star, kid. Well, you're looking good, man.
Thanks.
And you're sounding good, too. Avery Takes, that's out now.
It's out now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the tour is well underway.
It's underway, and like I said, it's the longest tour in history.
Yeah.
I'm actually getting to a lot of places I didn't get to go to last year when I took time off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really good and important for me to be able to do that, and getting to some new places as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, of course, for the kids, the parents that are going to be hearing this ricocheted around the car and the house for the next year or so, couple of years.
10 years.
10 years.
How many kids
10
have you
years.
got? Let's
Yeah.
just keep going.
Keep going. And that's out. That's out in a month or two.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I can't wait for my kids to hear it, Dan.
Fighting gorillas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Identity jumping giraffes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Species fluid.
Birds, the hero, she's, Gnarly. She's got, that's her name, Gnarly.
With a G?
She's got, just N-A-L-I.
Okay. I thought it might be a surfing reference or something.
No, but I steered clear of that one. It's an Inuit name, actually. So all
Okay.
the names,
Right.
all the names that
I
we're
missed the
using,
mark there.
we're getting pretty good with it. I mean, we're just trying to do everything right. All the names of the characters are local names of where they're from. Except there is one character I'll say now. It's Kumba, the Potteroo, which lives in Esperance, and Gnarly discovers her, and Kumba, that's a local name from there, but Kumba's best friend is a quokka. They're really shy, but they coexist really well with quokkas, and her best friend is Barry the quokka.
Right, Barry.
Yeah. So that's Barry Quokka.
That's a very Rocknest Island name.
It's Barry Quokka. And he's an extrovert, and he's trying to teach her not to be too shy. And we're still figuring out how he's going to look as far as copyright issues go with Barry Crocker. But I want him to have big flary lapels and a gold microphone and a big mo and an awesome comb over.
And what's the title of this? Gnarly and Friends.
Gnarly and Friends.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's a lot of fun.
This is Dan's ticket to Wiggles money. So everyone get out there.
Get amongst it. This is my this is just my part of my diversifying, something for the kids, something fun. These songs, they go for a minute 40 to 2 minutes, and they're funny, and it's a lot of fun. So it's been really good for me personally. in a healing way. Yeah.
Looking forward to hearing it, Dan. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for stopping by our quiet desert town, and we look forward to seeing you again up here.
Well, thanks very much. I might try to jump in that river.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's probably safer here than it is in Sylvania waters. You're less likely to jump into a shopping trolley. So we'll leave it there. Let's go for a swim.